Let's say with vaccines, some countries are now restricting the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine against COVID-19, while others have resumed inoculations. Investigations into reports continue. These are reports around rare but sometimes severe blood clots. The European Medicines Agency and the World Health Organization have said that the benefits outweigh the risks, but they are monitoring the situation. AstraZeneca said in March its vaccine was 76% effective in preventing symptomatic infections in a US trial, and that studies did not indicate higher risks of clotting. Meanwhile, the number of cases are climbing in some European countries. France went into another lockdown on Sunday. For more, we're joined by our correspondent in Brussels, in Belgium, Stuart Smith. Stuart, thank you very much. So this AstraZeneca vaccine, I mean, this hasn't been cleared up yet. I remember the WHO speaking weeks ago saying, yeah, there may be blood clots, but no evidence that the vaccine is actually causing that. What do we have now in terms of evidence or not?
Well, what we have now is confusion, because on Tuesday, the EMA made no extra announcement, but one of its scientists, the head of vaccines, Marco Cavalieri, he said that actually, it does seem to be the case that there could be a link between the AstraZeneca vaccine and the rarest form of blood clots, which is not what the EMA has been saying for the past few months. It's not where the EMA currently stands. So confusion as to whether this is the new advice of the EMA, a new conclusion of the European Medicines Agency, or rather a comment which maybe should not have been said, or was at least not meant to be said yet, because the EMA is currently going through its findings and expected to make a final conclusion later in the week. But that's got people asking the question, well, if that is the true picture, what should states be doing? If we take a quick assessment around Europe, what states have already chosen to do, despite the European Medicines Agency saying that the AstraZeneca vaccine should continue to be given to every age group, every demographic, here's what some states are doing. So Germany has banned the use of the vaccine amongst people under the age of 65. France has gone even further, gone to the age of 55, and some states like Norway are not allowing the administration of the vaccine at all. Now, these states say out of an abundance of caution they are taking these measures because the very, very small increase in the number of very rare forms of blood clotting have been seen in the younger population, mostly women. But let's recall the numbers here. We're talking about tens of people with millions of vaccinations, and the European Medicines Agency says that far outweighs the risk of getting the jab. It's better to get the jab and make sure you're inoculated against COVID-19 than potentially risk this tiny chance of getting these rare blood clots.
But presumably you could have a confidence problem here now if people hear that there are concerns around AstraZeneca and that's the vaccine that they're getting. And huge implications, I'm sure, for the company itself and investors looking at health stocks right now.
We're seeing those concerns in much of Europe, with hesitancy increasing for the AstraZeneca vaccine, in particular in Germany. In France, about 20% of people say they would take the AstraZeneca vaccine. That's against a backdrop of high vaccine skepticism in France anyway, of about 50%, but it shows the effect that this is having. In the UK, though, interesting, you'll note a different picture. No longer part of the European Union, it's the country which helped fund the development of this vaccine, and no such skepticism is being seen around the AstraZeneca vaccine, potentially because most people know someone who's had the AstraZeneca vaccine and haven't seen these effects because they are incredibly rare. And also people in the UK seeing the success of a vaccination program which is doing very well compared to Europe, which is yet to see those gains and is currently going through a third wave of COVID-19.
Yeah, that is interesting. So tell us what the situation is, this resurgence of infections.
At its most extreme, we've got France locking down due to hospital capacity getting very close to full. France locking down for the third time since the COVID-19 pandemic was declared, with restrictions such as a curfew between 7 in the evening to 6 a.m. at night, children learning from home. Germany, not quite so extreme. It did not go along with its plans in the end to cancel Easter, but more restrictions and will be continued until the beginning of April. Belgium, where I am right now, is currently under strict restrictions, but no lockdown as such. People are still free to move around. Cafes and restaurants offering takeaway only. All of this mostly in response to the variant which originated in the UK, and that is causing the biggest problem here in Europe, which the UK saw much earlier in the year, back in December. Now it's making its way through Europe, and that is 70% more infectious than the first strain. So that's what's causing problems here, and it's hospital capacity which is forcing most of the governments to try and increase restrictions, or at least keep them longer than they were originally planning.
Again, showing how connected the world is. Thank you very much from Brussels in Belgium, Stuart Smith.